come here for a second. What happens if a juror disregards a judge's instructions not to post things on social media? What do you think is going to happen in a medical malpractice case that now has taken years to get to trial? You want to know the answer? Come join me for a moment as I share with you some great information. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury attorney. So now here's the scenario. You brought a lawsuit against your doctor claiming that he was careless, and now you claim that his carelessness was a cause of your injuries and that your injuries are significant and permanent. The doctor said, "Hey, why are you suing me? I did nothing of the sort. I didn't do anything wrong. And by the way, you, the patient, you did something wrong. You didn't listen to my instructions." And then the doctor turns around and says, "You know what? Even if I did something wrong, guess what? Whatever I did wrong didn't cause or contribute to your injuries." And then he turns around and says, "You know what? Your injuries really are not as bad as you claim them to be." So now he's trying to do everything to minimize the value of your injuries. So now that means your case is going to be hard fought. They're going to argue and dispute every single thing in your case. Your case goes the distance during the course of litigation. And in New York, that could take anywhere from 2 to 3 years to get from the start all the way to the point of trial. And now you finally get to trial. And the judge at the very beginning of the trial gives the jury some preliminary instructions so they have an understanding of what's going to happen. And one of the instructions the judge tells the jury is, listen, in today's age of social media where everybody's got a smartphone, you are not, ladies and gentlemen, you are not to go onto your phones. You are not to post things on social media about this case. You are not to say things to your friends about the testimony and the evidence that you hear and see in this particular case. And he says you are not to do your own research about the medicine involved, about the people involved, about the attorneys involved. You are not to do that. So now, does the jury listen? Do they have to listen? How will the judge know if in fact the jury is doing what he says they should do? Here's the reality. It's almost like the jury is on an honor system. Plus, the jury is told before they ever get into the courtroom during the course of jury selection that if they find that one of these jurors who are now sitting in judgment on this particular case, if they are not following the judge's instructions and they learn about it, will they have the courage to stand up and to say, "Excuse me, Judge, juror number 3 has disregarded your instructions. You told us to go ahead and notify the court officer, and then they will notify you, and now you'll address it." So the jury is supposed to police themselves. At least that's the theory. And now we get the jurors during jury selection to go ahead and acknowledge and admit that they will go ahead and stand up and have the courage to say, "Hey, you were told to do this. Now you're not doing it. Why not? I have to notify the judge." Okay, so that's one way that the judge will know that something is not being done correctly. But now let's go back to the topic of this video. What happens if a juror goes ahead and posts comments on social media, let's say on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, about the testimony, about the evidence that's going on in this case? Or let's say the juror now posts comments about his thoughts about what is going on in this case. "Hey, I just heard testimony from this medical expert. You should have seen what a moron this guy was." Is that appropriate? The answer is no, it's not appropriate. Why not? Why isn't that appropriate? I mean, all these jurors have thoughts and opinions about what they see and what they hear. I'll tell you why it's not appropriate for them to go ahead and now comment on social media and online. The reality is that once somebody posts a comment like that, now their friends and people who follow them will recognize that, hey, this is a juror sitting on a case. And what do people do on social media? They now comment on that comment. "Oh yeah, I sat on a trial and the jury was X, Y, and Z. Or the judge was a piece of garbage. Or this attorney was garbage and or this person was great. And this medical expert was fantastic." Whatever their opinions are, now people start chiming in. And here's the problem with that. The moment somebody posts a comment and somebody else starts chiming in and puts their 2 cents in, guess what? The person who posted that comment will actually read those comments. And you know what? It may have an effect on the way this person perceives the testimony. It may have an effect on how they look at certain testimony and whether or not somebody may be biased, whether or not a particular type of witness who testifies may have an agenda, maybe they're prejudiced. There could be many things that can occur once somebody starts to post a comment and now other people start chiming in. And everybody's got an opinion, especially during the election cycle. right? How many times have you gone online and you've just been so sick and tired of listening to everybody's political opinion, right? That you're just fed up with it. You wish there was a button that simply eliminated and deleted all these political posts because it gets nothing accomplished and simply diverts you and your attention away from what you really need to do. So unless you're totally into leaving negative comments or positive comments about political candidates, and that's how you spend your day, well, that's one thing. But for the most part, the moment you begin to put comments about your observations, about your thoughts, about what's going on during the course of trial, now you are inviting people to make comments about things that they don't know about. They have not been in court. They have not heard the testimony. They have not seen the evidence. They have not heard the legal arguments. They have not heard the objections. And because of that, those people are at a significant disadvantage to truly understand what's going on in the courtroom. So here's the scenario. One day at the end of trial, the juror goes home, everybody goes home for the day, and now late at night, the juror decides, you know what, I've got to tell the world, I've got to tell people who follow me on social media about what just happened. And now she makes some comment about one of the medical experts, and now it's a derogatory comment. Well, she doesn't say anything, and she hopes that nobody on the jury sees it, or that the attorneys see it, or that the judge sees it, and now she goes back into court. And during a break in the testimony, now she's talking with some of the other jurors, and she happens to mention, yeah, I posted that, I said that the doctor was a horrible doctor, and that he has an agenda, and that whatever it is. So now the other jurors hear this. One of the jurors immediately jots down a note, sends it to the court officer gives it to the judge notifies the attorneys and says, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a problem. The judge says to the attorneys, it turns out that one of the jurors has disregarded my specific legal instructions not to post things about this trial on social media. And now, based upon the judge's comment and this new revelation, the attorneys go online to try and find this comment made by this particular juror, and lo and behold, they find the comment. And guess what? It is derogatory, it is negative, and it directly contradicts what the judge told these jurors not to do. Now, what do you think the judge is going to do? The judge tells the court officer to bring in juror number 3 into his private chambers. The two attorneys are sitting there. The judge now begins to interrogate juror number 3. Hey, juror number 3, I'm glad you joined us. Thank you for coming in. By the way, you were present when I gave the instructions at the very beginning of this trial, true? Yes. And now, you heard me tell everybody on this jury, do not post anything on social media, true? Yes. And you know, don't you, that if the jury does not listen, now we have a problem, correct? Yes. Did you in fact post something on social media last night about this particular case? No, I didn't. So this juror is now denying that she posted anything on social media about what she posted. Okay, so she's lying about it. And the judge gives her another chance and says, are you sure that you didn't post anything on social media? Yes, I'm sure. So now the judge turns to one of the attorneys and says, show it to her. He turns around his laptop, on her account, here's the post, here's the social media post. Now, do you see that? Yes. Did you post that? Yes. Juror number 3, you are excused from jury duty. Don't ever let me catch you doing that again. Now you put this entire case at risk, which means you may have poisoned the entire jury, which means we may have to start this trial all over again. You are dismissed, and you are lucky that I'm not sanctioning you personally, and you are lucky that I'm not referring you to the district attorney. For what? I don't know. And he now really wants to tell her what an inconvenience this is for disregarding his specific instructions not to post things on social media. So what happens next? So now juror number 3 is gone. And now the other jurors don't know anything about what happened. So what happens then? The judge may call the jury into the courtroom and say, ladies and gentlemen, juror number 3 was just caught having posted something on social media when she was specifically told under no circumstance are you to put anything on social media about this case. And now he may warn the jury once again about the risks associated with going ahead and putting things online about the trial. So that will give them an incentive to realize, hey, you know what? You still cannot do that. There are repercussions that will occur here if you do that. So now once he reminds the jury not to do that and tells them and warns them about going ahead and doing that, now the attorneys are going to pick another juror. They're going to select one of the jurors from the alternates who now have also been selected and are waiting in the wings for just this purpose. So that if one of the main jurors, one of the first 6 jurors, were unable to continue, now the attorneys or the judge would be able to go ahead and select at random one of those other 2 jurors who are now sitting and waiting in the wings. And that's exactly what they do. The judge asks the plaintiff's attorney, the attorney for the patient, in some instances, hey, Mr. Oginski, go ahead and pick one of the remaining jurors. And now we reach into a bin and at random we pull out a name. Or the judge will go ahead and do that. And now that juror who was waiting in the wings now takes the place of juror number 3. So why do I share this great information with you? I share it with you because it's a gorgeous day today here in Great Neck, a little crisp, a little cool, and I thought it would be important for you to understand how these types of matters work here in New York. You know, I recognize and I acknowledge that you're watching this video because you have questions or concerns about your own matter. Well, if your matter did happen here in New York and you're thinking about bringing a lawsuit but have not done so yet because you still have questions that need to be answered, then what I invite you to do is pick up the phone and call me. You know I answer questions like yours every single day and I'd love to chat with you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, G-E-R-R-Y, at oginski-law.com. That's it for today's video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a fantastic day.